Here in this video, I'll be talking about Bellona, the goddess of war from the Roman pantheon. I'm aware that we already have a god of war with Ares. There's a lot of gods of war. Being a fighting game, sort of, Smite has a lot of war gods. War deities, I should say. Bellona, in each war god, interestingly enough, has a sort of a different style of fighting in Smite. Ares is very control-y. Athena, part of Athena in the old Greek pantheon, she was the goddess of strategy in war. Bellona kind of takes the berserker role, where she's going to charge in weapons ablaze and start killing things, or at least hitting them with giant amounts of weapons. You see this reflected in her kit and her playstyle, which I will be going into shortly. So looking at some base stats here, 480 health plus 85. She's a warrior, by the way. Bellona is one of the few I think actually the only female warrior currently in the game, and also one of a very few female war gods. So she's also one of the most fun gods I have ever played in this game. She is very fun to play. You'll see that with her kit and as I explain it. So pretty high health. Physical defense is on par with Guardians. 18 physical defense to start with, plus 3 per level. She gets very tanky. Very high attack, good attack speed. 1 plus 0.012 per level. Basic attack damage is really good. 39 plus 2 per level. Now, her progression reads special, and that's because she has multiple different attack patterns depending on what abilities she has active. Her base attack chain, the one when she has this sword out without the shield, I'll get into that in a second because she's unique. She does a 1 times 0.5 and then 1.5, so she'll hit pretty hard. So, moving into her abilities, her passive is called Master of War. Upon hitting or being hit by a basic attack, Bellona will gain protections and movement speed for 4 seconds, up to 5 stacks. So she gets 4 protections per stack and 3% movement speed per stack, up to 15% and 20, up to 20 and 15% respectively. So now, Bellona's shield dash. Bellona will dash forward and bash with her shield. She'll do damage and slow every enemy she hits. And she'll get 1 stack of block for each enemy hit. So block will absorb all damage from a single basic attack and reflects a portion of the damage that she receives all around her. Then she gets her shield and sword for basic attacks, and every 3 successful basic attacks, she gains another stack of block, a maximum of 3. So this is her tanky assault ability. So now I think the attack chain with this move is a 1.51. So she has a little less damage, but she can attack a little bit faster. So it's either 1.51 or 1.751, but either way, it's a little bit quicker than her base. And she has a little less damage than her base attack pattern, but it's more tied into to the mechanic of the block. So now, Bellona is interesting because all her stuff relies on her staying in combat for extended periods of time. You can see with Shield Bash, she will get more block stacks the more basic attacks she hits. So this is kind of her that's kind of her playstyle. I'll get into that with leveling and item builds. But the damage she gets, 80 to 240 plus 40% of her physical power. The block reflects 30% of the damage a basic attack would do to her. And she slows enemy for 30% by 2 seconds when she hits them. Mana cost is 60 flat, cooldown is 15 seconds flat. Very interesting stuff with this goddess. Bludgeon is her second ability. She summons her hammer and then spins around, hitting every enemy around her, and then leaping and smashing forward in an overhand attack. She can move while spinning the hammer and then going to smash forward, so she can aim a lot. Every enemy god hit in a spin will increase the damage of the overhand attack. Then, after that, she starts attacking with the hammer until she's out of combat or uses a different ability. And the hammer special thing is that it will cleave. Now, the hammer gives her a new attack pattern. It'll be a 1.25, 1.5, 1.25. So she'll be doing a lot of damage with the cleave, but she'll be attacking slower, as befitting a giant hammer being wielded by a very normally proportioned woman. Like, you can see this. She's obviously strong. She wields a hammer like it's nothing, but it still takes a little bit. She's not like ridiculously strong like Hercules. That's kind of his thing, but she is the goddess of war, so she knows how to wield weapons. So spin damage 30 to 150 damage, plus 25% of physical power. The slam damage 70 to 310, plus 60% of the physical power. And the slam damage increases by 30% per enemy god hit. So now, cooldown 10 seconds, cost 60 to 80. Now finally, here's her third ability, Scourge. Bellona summons her Scourge, sort of like a whip, which will deal damage to all enemies in the line. So now, here's her unique CC, Disarm. Disarm, you may know if you play League of Legends or Dota 2, and in Smite, Disarm means that you cannot use your basic attacks. And so Bellona now has the Scourge, so the Scourge gives her a little bit extra range, and every third successful attack will heal her. Much like every other ability in her kit, she keeps this weapon until she exits combat, or she switches to another weapon by using a different ability. So now Scourge's damage 60 to 220 plus 50% of her physical power. The disarm is 2 to 3 seconds. Healing 30 to 50. So now remember, this is every third successful attack, not every third attack. So you have to actually hit 3. The attack chain with this is I think it's a 0.511. It's a or 1.51. It's a very quick attack chain. More aiming to getting out that third attack and hitting a lot of times. Bellona is very focused on just utilizing the basic attacks to their fullest. And now finally her ultimate ability, Eagle's Rally. Bellona will leap into the air, being CC immune, slamming her flag down, which will unleash a little bit of a range, an area aura. Enemies that are directly under the flag when it is slammed to the ground will take damage and are stunned for a second. And now this flag aura will grant protections and physical power to all allied gods that stand in the area. So now, the damage that the flag slam does, 100 to 500 damage, plus 50% of her physical power. It gives 15 to 35 protections, 10 to 50 physical power, and it lasts from 6 to 14 seconds. Very team-oriented ultimate ability, but also can be really good for chasing enemies down or getting out because of the CC immunity on it. Cooldown goes from 75 to 55 seconds. It costs 100 mana. So now, going into leveling with Bellona, she's a very interesting god just because of how much is in her kit and how different your playstyle is when you're wielding each weapon. Bellona is often played in the jungle or in the solo lane, and a lot of the time what you want to do with her is you don't want to take Bumba's masks. So if you're in the jungle and you don't plan on invading, you take Scourge so that you can get this healing every third attack, and you make the jungle minions not attack you as much because they're disarmed. This disarm applies to minions and gods, so keep that in mind. Now, as for your level 2, you want to take Shield Bash. Shield Bash is really good for initiation early because that 30% slow is massive. And since Bellona's getting more power the more you try to hit her, or the more she hits you with the protections and the movement speed, it's a really good way to get into fights and just start wailing on someone. Now, as for level 3, you get another level of Scourge, a little bit more healing, a longer disarm, more damage. The healing is very low with Scourge because of a recent nerf, which brought it down significantly. Bellona's survivability was really good because their entire point was to get into the middle of a fight and keep surviving, but Scourge made it so you couldn't kill her. So now it does significantly less. But it's still a really good ability, and the disarm is still really good, especially in the hunt against hunters, because they rely on their basic attacks, so you can just pretty much hammer them away. As for her second ability, Bludgeon, or at level 4 you take Bludgeon. You might as well have the hammer available. The cleave is really good. The extra damage that hammer is going to do. Additionally, Bludgeon's also really good for just smashing down towers because of the extra damage you're going to be doing. At level 5, you get her ult, no questions there. Level 6 and level 7, you do Scourge. Level 8, you get Bludgeon. Now, Shield Bash is good, but it doesn't really scale much, and there's no reason to take it over Bludgeon, which is going to give you massive damage increases, where Shield Bash isn't really going to do a whole lot for you because you're not using it for damage, you're using it for getting the shield or hitting someone and slowing them. Now, at level 9, you can go one of two options. You could get another level of Eagle's Rally, or you could finish Scourge. I like finishing Scourge for the healing, but there's a lot of benefit also with Eagle's Rally now that Scourge has been nerfed, and the healing is no longer absolutely ridiculous. But I personally prefer Scourge because I think at level 9 you're not really in the team fight phase yet, so you might as well have the healing available to you rather than a little bit shorter cooldown on Eagle's Rally, because it's not really going to scale all that well. At level 10, going with again what I like to do with her, I go level 10 Bludgeon, level 11 Bludgeon, level 12 Bludgeon, finish it off, and then at level 13 and 14 I get the 2 points into Eagle's Rally, and then just finish off with Shield Bash and Eagle's Rally whenever I can. So I think Bellona is one of the best mid-game gods, one of the better mid-game gods in the game. She just can do so much, and her emphasis on being in the middle of fights for long, sustained periods of time means that it's really hard to take her down without a full team effort. And if you can force the enemy team to have to put in that much effort into killing you and as a single solitary god, that is a really good thing because that means they're wasting resources on one person, and your team can reinitiate and you live. You're going to win that fight almost every single time unless you just royally screw up. So moving into Bellona's items. So this is the solo lane build for Bellona. I think it's a good build, but I'm going to go with what I like, and this is the abusing of Scourge's healing build. Now, with the solo lane, you definitely do one Bluestone. Heavy Hammer was really good when Scourge gave you so much healing and you only needed to rely on it. But I think in the solo lane, you definitely want the Bluestone for the extra sustain. Since you're going to be very aggressive, you're going to be using a lot of mana, and you need to be careful. Scourge covers the healing. I don't think you need Hand of the Gods as much. I think you can avoid getting that. I think Boots is fine. A lot of health and mana. You could forgo the boots and get a lot of health, and just save up the money, but it's a lot of wasted money. With Bellona, so this is where I would go from here. This is where I really deviate. I prefer Ninja Tabi over Warrior Tabi with Bellona if you're going to abuse Scourge, because you're gonna need that 12% attack speed with her in order to really attack a lot with Scourge and get that healing off every like 1 or 2 seconds with high attack speed. After that, I really like Ikavol on this god. I think Ikavol is so good with Bellona because her entire point is to fight forever, and Ikavol supports fighting forever because of this physical power increase in the stealing. If you fight physical gods, you will be the death of them because you're going to be getting protection, you're stealing their physical power, and you're getting stronger the more you're attacking them. You are just a nightmare to any physical god, especially with the disarm, because they're not hitting you with most of their damage. Some of the physical gods don't care, but she's still a nightmare to deal with for physical gods. After that, I really like Soul Eater on this god. And the reason why, Soul Eater is not a common item to see on physical gods. It's not a great item. It's a cheap lifesteal item that gives health, lifesteal, and attack speed. And an aura which gives a small amount of physical power and a good amount of lifesteal. On Bellona, though, those are the stats that she really needs. She doesn't need high damage in the mid game. She just needs to attack a lot. Ikavol's covering for that. Soul Eater giving you a little bit of power, and then that lifesteal, you're gonna just since you're building a lot of attack speed, you're gonna be hitting a lot of damage for a lot of lifesteal, and the extra health keeps you alive longer. So you're just gonna be wailing on someone, gaining back your life, and you're gonna be hard to kill because of that. After Soul Eater, this is where it deviates a little bit. If the enemy has a lot of tanky targets with physical defense because of you, Executioner, shred through them. If they don't, at that point, I really do like either Aussie or some other attack speed item or a Chin size. I think Aussie with her just maximizing that lifesteal. You're hitting Scourge, you're hitting a lot of lifesteal. You're gonna be just unkillable sometimes, and it's really hard to deal with you. Um, Again, you don't really need the physical power is kind of covered by the fact that you're attacking so much with your and hitting them with so much damage that you don't really need that. Now after Aussie, I really like Executioner. Executioner, no matter who's on the enemy team, you get Executioner, you get that up and running, you just start beating through people. Now for sixth item, you sell your Bluestone. I think at this point you can go. There's a few options. I like Jotun's Wrath. I think as a sixth item, it pushes Bellona into the end game a bit more. She's not relevant in the end game, I think, as much as she is the mid game. But I think Jotun's Wrath helps her a lot. It allows you to push more for Eagles rallies and using Scourge to its maximum effectiveness, using her abilities and switching weapons and just hitting people and staying in fights. I think that's why Jotun's Wrath is a good idea, and that's why you need a lot of lifesteal with her, because her entire point is to just fight and fight and fight. That is Bellona. So, actives. Purification beads, no, don't even ask a question about that, it's necessary. As for the other active, I think a good idea with Bellona is either Shell of Absorption for more damage resistance and just being able to charge head first into a fight, or the Shield of the Underworld. With Shield of the Underworld, you are now telling the enemy, I'm going to be charging at you head on with this item up. Shield of the, for those of you who don't know, because I don't think I've used this a single time in my how-tos, what Shield of the Underworld does is for 5 seconds you have a shield around you. It will mitigate 40% of the incoming damage at you, and will reflect that damage as magical damage against the enemy that hits you. So now what you have is essentially a damage absorption and return shield, and it's going to do a lot for you. And because of Bellona's playstyle, where you're charging headfirst into fights and daring the enemy to continue fighting you, you're basically telling them, you're gonna fight me, I'm gonna be doing damage to you, and if you don't burst me down, I'm just gonna kill you because you can't attack me. You're essentially telling them, I'm forcing you to fight me, but you can't. That is Bellona, and that is why she's so deadly. She can be so deadly in the hands of of anyone who knows what they're doing, because you're forcing the enemy to have to fight you, and you're making it impossible for them to actually fight you evenly. That is why Bellona is so devastatingly good in the mid game. So now Skin, she only has Standard and Battle and her recolor Battle Maiden. She's a very new god, but I think she is still one of the better gods I've ever played. One of the most fun gods I've ever had the opportunity to play in this game. I really like her. I think she is amazing. Anyway, that's Bellona.